Hi everyone, and welcome to the Virtuzone Academy Q&A on starting a business in the UAE. Today we're going to be covering all the questions that you have so kindly submitted prior to this webinar around starting a business, running a business, how to get visas, how to open bank accounts, and so on. So I think we have a really exciting hour ahead of us. But just while we are waiting for all the guests to get on the webinar, we'll just start out by introducing ourselves. On the panel today, we have Gary Thompson from Virtuzone, as well as Luis Perez. And my name is Christian Foss-Petersen, and I'm head of marketing at Virtuzone. Gary, before we kick off, do you want to give a little bit of an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, so I've been working at Virtuzone now for over 3 years. I'm a company information consultant and team manager. Prior to Virtuzone, I had a legal career, and my speciality is complex mainland setups.
Luis, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. So my name is Luis Perez. I have been working for Virtuzone for more than 5 years now. I'm a company formation manager, and my specialty is a free zone setup.
Thank you. So we've had just a couple of technical challenges just before going live. So if you can't hear or see us, just feel free to put it in the chat. You'll see on the right-hand side. For Louise today, there won't be a video, but there'll be a photo of her. So thanks so much for submitting your questions in advance. Feel free to ask any question you want throughout the webinar as well. You can just put them in the chatter on the right-hand side. And we'll do our best to get through them during the course of the next hour. So without further ado, let's start out by answering some of the questions that we have already received. Louise, the first question is for you. It's Giorgio who would like to know. So when setting up a company in a free zone, what is the procedure to get a bank account for that free zone company? What do you have to go through to open a bank account?
So first of all, in order to get a corporate bank account, you need first to apply for your company license. So in order to apply for your company license, you need to select the right free zone to do so. We can assist with this process. Once your license is issued and your immigration card under your business is issued as well, we can then apply for visas for the shareholders, and only once shareholders have valid UAE residence visa under the company, it's then possible to open a corporate bank account under the business. For a corporate bank account, we can introduce you to banks in the UAE who will then be able to assist with the process. Most of the banks are asking nowadays for business summary to explain what type of business you will be conducting. They're asking also for personal bank statement, for the contact details of all the shareholders, and most of the banks as well are asking for a flexi desk or an office lease agreement. So we can navigate you along the different steps by introducing you to the right bankers in the UAE.
Thanks for that, Luis. Gary, the next question is for you. Thomas, he would like to know, what are the administrative steps required to open a business in the UAE? He actually have a few questions, so I think let's start with the first one. So what are the steps required to open a business here?
Well, the first step is identifying really what you're going to do, and the activity that you carry out, who your customers will be, how many visas that you require, will dictate whether your business should be set up in a free zone or should be set up in mainland. In the UAE, there's over 60 different jurisdictions, so that means there's 60 different places essentially where you can actually set your company up. Over 50 of those are free zones, and there's mainland options in each of the UAE Emirates. A free zone is like a state in America. It's a fixed geographical area where you do business inside the free zone remotely and outside the UAE, whereas mainland allows you to do business all across the UAE. It allows you to sell and offer services directly to the consumer on the mainland. And generally, it will have much more flexibility than a free zone company. So it really depends on which option we go with as to what the correct steps to take are. But companies like ourselves can guide you to the correct options and then can guide you through all the steps. Because unfortunately, although there's 60 different options, each of them have their own rules, regulations, procedure, and they're not always following the same process.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Gary. Louise, the next question is from Eric, who would like to know what's the cheapest package available right now, and what does it cover? If you want to set up a business here.
So as of today, one of the cost-effective solutions available to set up a free zone company will be for media-related activities. It's in a free zone located in Sharjah, and the starting cost will be 5,750. Of course, because it's related to media, it's not for all entrepreneurs out there. So we'll have to check first if this will be suitable for your business or not. Also, this is a no visa package, so it will entitle you only to get the trade license. You cannot apply for any visas under this company. If you need visas, the price of the trade license will be more expensive then.
Okay. And Gary, I just want to jump back to one of, because Thomas actually had a few other questions. I think he's looking to open a restaurant here, because he would like to know that what license is required for a restaurant? Is there a specific trade license for a restaurant? How can he apply for a liquor license if he wants to sell pork as well? Is there a special license he has to apply for? And does he have to pay separately for each of all these different licenses if he wants to open a restaurant?
Okay, that's a good question, and it involves quite a lot of regulation. There's different heads of regulation in Thomas's question. So a restaurant will almost always be a mainland company. Only under very limited circumstances would it be a free zone company. So with a mainland company, you need to establish on the mainland, and a restaurant's deemed a professional activity. So a mainland company can be owned 100% by a foreign shareholder with a local service agent, or can be owned 51-49 with a local partner. Restaurant and the food industry is regulated by Dubai municipality, or is regulated by the municipality in the other Emirates. But for this example, let's stick with Dubai. And to add a liquor license and to add a pork license, in almost all circumstances, you need to be attached in some way to a hotel. So if you want to have an alcohol license or you want to have a pork license, it's best to try and locate yourself somewhere in the region of a 5-star hotel, because then it makes getting those extra approvals more straightforward. If you pick a central location that's not located near anywhere else that serves alcohol, or not located anywhere else near a hotel, it will be almost impossible to get an alcohol license, for example. So you can speak to us about the locations that you have in mind. We can also put you in touch with real estate agents who can find suitable locations for you and your restaurant, and then we can help you with the license procedure once you decide to proceed.
Perfect. All right, I think we're getting a lot of questions today on the chatter, which is great. So thanks so much for that, everyone. Let's dive into some of them as well. And I think the first one is quite interesting. I don't think we've gotten that question on any of the Q&As before. Louise, one of the guests would like to know here that if I got deported from America due to financial crime 2 years ago, am I still eligible to start a business in the UAE and settle with my family here?
Actually, it might be difficult to get the company license issued, because when you apply for your trade license, there's a pre-approval being done, and it might be rejected if you're actually if you have like a not a great background history. So it might be possible to get the license issued, but definitely it will be a struggle to get a corporate bank account. It will be, of course, a case-by-case situation.
Okay. I see we're getting a few questions around if it's possible to set up a business while you're still employed by a company in the UAE. Gary, if you have a full-time job and if you want to start a side hustle or something like that, is that possible, and how can you go around that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain free zones in the UAE that don't require an NOC from your employer. So if you want to do something on the side, you want to set up a license, do a little bit of trading, then absolutely options are available to you. My favorite option for something like that is Fujairah Creative City. You don't need an NOC, you can have activities on the license, and you can start setting up your company. Recently, I did the webinar with the Amazon Sellers Society, and it was very, very interesting because there's actually companies out there now that will do almost all of the work for you. So if you want to have a side hustle and you want to spend maybe 1 or 2 hours a week on it, then companies like the Amazon Sellers Society can cater for you. Or if you want to spend maybe 5 or 10 hours per week, then again, they can also help cater and do certain parts of the business for you so that you can get up and running. And that's been very, very popular during lockdown or during the last year, setting up an e-commerce business. You can use companies like Amazon Sellers Society to source suitable products. They can help you check the manufacturing process. They can help you with the import process. And ultimately, you sell the product to the end user through the company that you set up.
All right. Yeah, and Amazon is doing amazingly well these days. I've seen during the pandemic. So yeah, it's quite obvious that more and more people they take that route, and I think that's a great way as well to start out with a side hustle to make a little bit of extra money on the side by running an e-commerce store on an already established platform. Otherwise, if you want to set up an e-commerce store, there's also platforms like Shopify where you have a bit more options in terms of how you can customize the look and feel. But there's lots of good options out there.
And that's what surprised me, Christian, because there's actually people out there that will find the product for you. So they will do market research and they will tell you what products are searched for on Amazon that aren't there. They can then help you source the product. They can then help you import the product. So you can see all the stages in the business model from the eyes of an expert without actually having to do it yourself. So you can pick one product to get you started, and then you can expand. So it's a great time to actually do it because these companies have popped up and they're very, very popular.
That's super smart. Did they give any sort of price range for the different types of services? Like if they wanted to, if they were to run your store, fully, how much would that cost? If you were like to be partially involved, what would that cost, and so on? I think a lot of people are quite curious.
I think it's all about percentages. So Amazon, I believe, take between 30 and 40%. For when you sell your product through Amazon, they will deal with all the logistics. They will deal with the advertising. And I believe they said that you should be finding a product that has around 60% margin in it. So that you can give your slice to Amazon, you can give your slice to the company that's helping you, and you can still keep a slice for yourself. Obviously, once you've tested the water with 1 or 2 different products, you can then do more of the process on your own. Or ultimately, it might be your goal to move away from your day job and do this full time. But it surprised me that someone can be kind of running a successful business, and they only need to put maybe 1 hour or 2 hours in a week. I always thought that it would take a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But actually, there's companies out there that can make it really, really easy for you.
That's amazing. And if you want to know more about Amazon Seller Society in the Middle East, with whom we had the the previous webinar that Gary he talked about, then go and search for them on YouTube. They're called Amazon Seller Society Middle East. They have lots of great content around how you can start a business or set up a business here and start selling on Amazon in the UAE and in Saudi Arabia as well. So I think this conversation is a great sort of segue into the next question from Usman, Luis, and I think that's going to be for you. So what's the most cost-effective solution to set up an e-commerce company that will enable you to start selling on sites like Amazon, Noon, Mom's World, and so on?
So as Gary said earlier, the Freelancer of Fujairah Creative City is a great option. They have indeed the activity e-commerce, which is perfect to sell on platforms like Noon, Amazon, or Mom's World. So it's actually a great option, a cost-effective one as well, and a very easy and straightforward process.
All right. So that's the solution. Gary, we have a question from one of our guests today. Katie would like to know, how do you go about setting up a business in the F&B industry, more specifically a food truck? I remember a couple of years ago, food trucks became all the rage here in the UAE. And I think if you still go and search on Google for how to start a food truck in Dubai, I think our article is still #1. But Gary, I guess in a nutshell, how do you go about setting up a food truck legally here?
No, that's a very good and common question, Katie. I also seen another question you mentioned about a local service agent related to restaurant as well, so I'll deal with both. The UAE is not like other countries, unfortunately, so setting up a food truck isn't like a smaller version of a restaurant. What you actually need to do is you need to have the restaurant first. So the concept of a food truck is that the main cooking is actually meant to be carried out in a central kitchen or in a restaurant, and then the final preparation is supposed to take place in the food truck. So you still need to set up a restaurant license or a catering license. You still need to have a kitchen, or you need to be partnered with a company that has a kitchen. You still need to get Dubai municipality approval, and then separately you apply for a food truck permit. So it's not a cheaper way to do it, but it gives you two options in how you service your customers. You can service them from the kitchen, and you can also service them from a remote location, as long as it's an approved location from Dubai municipality. And the point about a local service agent versus a local partner. So a local partner in a mainland company holds 51% of the shares in your company to make the company a limited liability company. So in the mainland, it's not possible to have a company that has limited liability without having a local partner. But what a lot of people don't realize is that it's always been possible for professional activities, such as restaurants, such as accounting, such as project management, for you to own the company 100%, but you must take personal liability. And instead of having a local who holds 51% of the shares, you have a local who offers you services, and those services is access to government, access to visas, access to labour, access to immigration, etc. So that's where a local service agent comes in. And there's also some companies where it's not actually possible to have a limited liability company. So if you want to have a consultancy now, it's mandatory in the mainland that you must take personal liability. So if you're going to give consultancy advice, you cannot limit your liability on the mainland.
All right. I do know we have some technical challenges today, and one of the guests is asking if we're going to do a podcast of this webinar afterwards. We are going to upload the webinar on YouTube, so we will be editing it and uploading it subsequently. So you should be able to rewatch it there afterwards, hopefully in with a better connection that we unfortunately have today. We also got a question from Mihir, who is running a UK-based company. Mihir is asking what's the best free zone to open a company in the UAE, and what's the approximate cost. Mihir, could you tell us a little bit more about the company that you're currently running and want to expand to the UAE? If you can just put that in the chatter, then we will come back to it shortly. But yeah, let's jump on to the next question. Louise got a question here that if you set up a business and when it then comes to the visa processing, do you require to be physically present in the UAE to start the visa process? This guest is currently in South Africa and not yet vaccinated for COVID.
So in order to form the company license and to get the immigration card under your business, the process can be done remotely. Nevertheless, you will have to come in the UAE to do the entire visa process. So from the entry permit until your visa is stamped in your passport. So you will have to come in the UAE between 2 to 4 weeks, according to where would you like to set up your business. If you're not yet vaccinated, you can still come in the UAE because as of today, it's not a mandatory requirement in order to visit the country. But yes, you have to visit the UAE to do the whole visa process.
All right. Lately in the news, there's been a lot of talk about how the UAE is that it's no longer required to have a local sponsor if you are setting up a business here. And there's someone who would like to know that is the local sponsor requirement completely scrapped, as he keep hearing about it in the news, or is the local sponsor still a requirement? Gary, is that something you can elaborate a bit on?
Yes, unfortunately, nothing's really changed. Although there was this exciting announcement in December that the rules were changing and they were being implemented and everything was going to be good to go from December, in practice, nothing's really changed yet. We anticipate that when it does change, it's not going to affect many people because instead of a local partner, you're going to have to put a very substantial share capital investment from around 5 million dirhams paid up share capital, instead of having a local partner. So it's only going to affect a limited number of businesses if our understanding of that is correct. There hasn't been much development on the original foreign direct investment categories that were identified. And so unfortunately at the moment you're still stuck with needing a local partner. But having a company like yourself provide you with a corporate nominee instead of an individual local partner has very, very substantial benefits to you. We can pass all ownership control of the company back to you and you just pay a fixed annual fee rather than actually having to pay a percentage of the revenue generated by the business. But what a lot of people don't realise is that it's actually always been possible to own a company without a local partner for certain types of activities, like restaurant, like accounting, like project management. If the activity is deemed to be professional, then you can own it 100%, but it comes with the caveat that you have to take personal liability for that company.
Thanks for that, Gary. And while I have you here on the screen, just to return to Katie again. So Katie was asking about the, how to set up a food truck before, and you explained the type of license you would need for that. If she's only going to sell on Deliveroo or Talabat or any other, I guess, delivery service, is the same license still required? Because as she says, I know there are some kitchens where you can rent, in Barsha in order for you to, prepare your food and your beverages.
Yeah, so that's a different concept altogether. So that's a cloud concept, kitchen. The kitchen that you're referring to in Barsha, I believe one of our clients actually owns that. And there's lots of new pop-up concepts such as Dan's Home Foods, for example. That isn't a full-scale mainland company. What that does is it provides a menu, it provides intellectual property to the central kitchen, and it sells its food through the central kitchen and through Talabat. So it's almost like a sort of Amazon way of doing food. You have the idea, you source the product, but someone else actually delivers the end service for you, like Amazon does with the delivery, the fulfillment. So that is one way to do it on a sort of test the water scale. And and it's becoming more and more popular how to do it. Honestly, I don't know how you do it from start to finish, but I've seen 4 or 5 very, very good concepts pop up recently that are only based in these central kitchens. So you can't go and visit them, you can't pick up, and you can only get delivery within a certain geographical area through Talabat or through Deliveroo.
All right, thanks, Gary. Katie, I hope that answers your question. Otherwise, feel free to let us know in the chat. Luis, so got a question here. Where did it go? Yes, Shireen would like to get some ideas, some good ideas for starting a new business. So I guess why don't we help Shireen a little bit here in terms of the trends we see among the different types of businesses that we are setting up. We're setting up now on a monthly basis. We're setting up more than 150 new companies every month. What are sort of the trends you're seeing when it comes to the different types of business activities that they are carrying out?
So we currently have a lot of inquiries for e-commerce businesses. I would say it's the top one selling business right now. Also, everything that's digital, of course, everything related to consultancy and software. So I would say that's the 4 most areas right now that are set up by our clients.
All right. So e-commerce, Shireen, it is. Gary Mihir, he got back to us in terms of, so Mihir has a company in the UK that they would like to expand to the UAE. The name of the company is Six Berries, and they are delivering IT services. So based on this information, what would be the best jurisdiction to set up that company in the UAE, and what will you sort of estimate as the approximate costs?
IT services could possibly be done from a Freezone company, or could possibly have to be done from a mainland company. It depends on the specific services, who your end customers are going to be. Like if you're offering services to governments or large scale companies, then you have to have a mainland company. If you're offering sort of standard software, websites, general IT maintenance, etc., that's all done remotely, then you can do that from a Freezone. Like we're just about to launch a Ramadan offer at the moment, so you've got exclusivity from me, where you can set up a company with 4 visa allocation in Fujairah for 18,995 plus VAT, including 1 visa. So that's really as cheap as I've ever seen it or ever heard of for setting up a company with such a high visa eligibility. If you want to set up in Dubai and you want a more premium Freezone, you can set up in Dubai World Trade Center for 29,995 plus VAT. Had we been having this discussion 18 months ago, Dubai World Trade Center would have been around 65,000 plus VAT. So the prices have dropped very, very substantially. You can have a premium location, premium service, premium office offerings now for much, much less than you could before. So you've got quite a lot of choice there, provided that your clients aren't going to be government, aren't going to be, and it isn't going to be physical services that you're offering. So if you must be in a client's office to provide your services and your client is based in the mainland, then you need to have a mainland company. But if you're providing remote support and consultancy, then you can do that from a Freezone.
All right. There's a question here from Jihad that would like to know what's the difference between a Freezone company and the regular ones. I believe that's probably between a Freezone and a mainland company, and also how long it generally takes to get a visa. Luis, will you be able to help Jihad out here?
Yeah, of course. So a mainland company will allow you to offer any type of businesses. So some activities are restricted to mainland companies only. For instance, if you want to set up a construction company, it's not possible to do so with a Freezone. So that's the main first difference. Also, if you want to operate all over Dubai, and if you want to offer services to government-owned businesses, you should have a mainland license. A mainland license, as Gary explained, will require a local service agent or local sponsor, according to the type of mainland license you select. And a free zone company will not require any of those, so you own 100% of the company, but it will be an LLC. The other difference is that a free zone is limited geographically. So it has a defined area where you can actually operate from. And a free zone company in mainland usually will take approximately the same amount of time to set up. From the day you start the process until you have your visa issued, it will take approximately a month and a half to complete the whole process.
All right. Jihad, I hope that answers your question. And I can see Jihad has one more. Louise, is it more difficult to open a company in Abu Dhabi than in Dubai?
No, not necessarily. It's not more difficult to open in Abu Dhabi than in Dubai.
Okay. All right. Let's jump on to the next question, Gary. Laura would like to know, what are the best licensing options for coaching services? Is that a trade license or freelancer license? What should Laura go for?
Thanks for the question, Laura. I'll assume that you mean sports coaching or personal training or some sort of coaching of that sort. Now, there's only really one legal way to do that. If you're providing a physical training service at someone's home, at a gym in the mainland, all around Dubai, then you're supposed to have a mainland license to do that and a mainland visa. Personal trainers and coaching, etc., is one of the areas of the industry where people are most likely to have the wrong license, because people generally focus on the cheapest possible option rather than the legal or the correct option. Now, every day that the crackdowns are increasing. The sports industry is an industry that we know that the government was going to look at prior to COVID. So it might be, in our view, it's wise to do it properly going forward rather than going for the freelancer route or going for the free zone route. So the only correct way to do it is via mainland. And we have a specific product called VirtuFit, which is a very heavily subsidized mainland license with all the requirements for mainland, including an office, including a trade license, including your visa. And it's specifically for people in your industry. So VirtuFit is the way to do it, and we can help you with that.
So Gary, let's say it was a different type of coaching, not sports related, but leadership coaching or life coaching, something like that. What type of license would then be most suitable for that?
Well, that's a good example of the opposite, because with personal training, the assumption is that you're doing it physically, you're doing it there and then. But if you were doing it only online, or you were doing it remotely, then you can do it from a free zone company, because a free zone company is allowed to offer services remotely from the free zone and outside the UAE as well. So if it's all remote services, if it's consultancy, if it's all online, then you can do that from a free zone.
All right. Let's jump on to the next question. Louise, Mohammed would like to know, what's the best way to start small in the UAE? Like, starting a business from home. How do you go about that? Running a business out of your home, basically.
So first of all, we need to know what type of business Mohammed wants to do in order to answer this question. Because, for instance, if he wants to do a food business and cook, bake, do some bakery at home, it's not allowed in the UAE. So we need to know more about what type of business he wants to do, how many visas he will need, if he will be the only partner involved, who is he gonna offer his service to, and yeah, we need to get all those answers first in order to be able to answer this question the right way.
All right. So, Mohammed, feel free to reach out to us. By the way, if you would like more one-on-one consultation from either Gary or Luis, feel free to reach out to us on info@vc.ae. Otherwise, Gary and Luis, if you can also put your email addresses in the chatter, then the guests on the webinar today can also reach out directly to you. So feel free to reach out directly to Gary and Luis as well for more clarification on any of the questions asked so far, or for personal one-on-one consultations. Gary, I can see we're getting a lot of restaurant-related questions today, so I'm gonna put them your way. Mary Beth would like to know that regarding a restaurant activity, do they need a different license for each restaurant, or can they have one license for all branches? So I assume they have one restaurant concept, but multiple branches under that restaurant.
Yeah, so once you set up your initial restaurant, if you have various chains of the same restaurant, then you can open a branch. Opening a branch of a mainland company is very similar to opening a new company, but they're all just interconnected. You can have as many branches as you want of one particular company, and each branch needs to have a physical location, and each location needs to be approved by Dubai municipality. So yes, you can have one restaurant chain with as many branches as you want, and then if you are selling the company in the future, then you sell the full concept.
All right. And Thomas would like to know, I think we might already have said it today, but do you need a mainland license in order to open and run a restaurant, or can you do that on a free zone license? And if you go for the mainland license, do you have to have a local sponsor?
Sorry, I missed part of that. Could you say that again?
Yes, sure. So Thomas would like to know that, if you're opening a restaurant, does it have to be on a mainland license, or could it be on a free zone license? And if it has to be on a mainland license, do you need the 51% local sponsor, or can you do it without?
Yeah, I think we dealt with all of that related to Thomas's question initially. A restaurant can have a local partner, or you can do it without having a local partner. In almost all circumstances, you will need to have a mainland company. In very limited circumstances, such as it being in DMCC, which is JLT, then you can have a free zone license. So yeah, we've already dealt with most of that for Thomas.
All right, let's jump on to the next question from Hisham. So Louisa, Hisham would like to know that, basically he would like to start a clothing store, an e-commerce clothing store. Should he go free zone or mainland? And if he goes free zone, which free zone do you recommend? And finally, in terms of warehousing and shipping of goods, should he handle that himself, or are there ways he can sort of outsource that?
So Hisham can set up an e-commerce business selling clothes in mainland or in free zone. So if he set up a company in a free zone, he can have the activity e-commerce and trading of garments under one same license. If he does set up in a free zone, he can sell the goods online, but he will need to partner up with a logistic company who will then handle the physical goods for him outside of the free zone where he is registered. Same thing if he has a free zone license and wants to have a warehouse now or in the future, the warehouse needs to be located in the free zone where his company is established. If he decides to go for mainland, in this case, he can have a warehouse anywhere in Dubai, and he can handle the logistic as well. So he can have his own drivers to deliver the clothing, the garments to his clients directly. He has the option to do so, or if he doesn't want to do it as a start, he can externalize this and ask a third-party company to handle this for him. So both options are possible, Mainland and Freezone. If Freezone is the preferred option, he can set up his company in Fujairah Creative City. Ras Al Khaimah Freezone is offering this option as well. Shams Freezone, and there's a few Freezones in Dubai offering such licenses.
All right, so lots of options to choose from. Gary, Paul, he would like to know that when you are starting a new business here, do you recommend that entrepreneurs they take live, critical or key man insurance?
Yeah, it's always good to have insurance. As soon as it's financially viable for you to have insurance, it's good to have it. If you're setting up a business, it's good to have professional indemnity insurance and also employment liability insurance. So yes, absolutely, I would take insurance as soon as you possibly can, because you never know what's going to happen. And the cost of an insurance premium is generally very low compared to the costs that you have to outlay when something serious or unexpected happens. And especially in the UAE as well, if you're thinking about your family, you don't really have a pension like you would in other countries. As soon as something happens to you or you lose your job, it directly affects your family. So yes, here more than anywhere else, I would recommend that you have insurance as soon as it's viable to do so.
And just along those lines, so we have partnered with Petra Insurance here in the UAE, so we can help you out with that. If you drop us an email at info@vc.ae, we can take that forward and make sure you get a good solution at an affordable rate. Louise Grant has a question here that if I'm currently employed and I want to start my own business, what's the process for a visa transfer? And is that possible at all? Or do you have to go through a process of applying for a new visa?
So it's actually possible to do a visa transfer if, let me give you an example. If your visa is issued from one of the Dubai-based free zone and you want to set up a company in a Dubai-based free zone, we can actually transfer the visa. But it will not be possible if the transfer is done in different Emirates. So if your current visa is issued from Dubai and you want to set up your business in Sharjah, you will need to cancel your visa and get a new one under your new business. Same thing between mainland jurisdiction and free zone. As of today, it's not possible to do a visa transfer. So only among the same Emirate and free zone to free zone or mainland to mainland.
All right. Before we get on to the next question, so I would like to run a little poll to engage everyone. So I wanna ask you a question: that how soon are you looking to start a business, if at all? I'll publish this poll now. You should see it on your screen in a second. Do let me know that, or do let us know that if you're looking to start a business, how soon are you looking to start a business? And we will publish the result of this polls in a few minutes. But yeah, let's get on with the questions because we still have a bit to cover. So Gary, the next one is for you. Someone would like to know that if he is looking to start a consultancy company aimed at the hospitality industry, can he go down the freelancer route if it's just him that the company will employ, or is there a better way to set it up, or a different way he has to set it up? He will primarily be dealing with mainland companies across the region.
At the moment, I would generally not recommend freelancing because for the same price, you can set up a free zone license these days. A freelance license has its limitations. You work under the umbrella of another company. You cannot have a corporate bank account. You cannot hire staff if the business grows, and you have personal liability. If you set up somewhere like Ras Al Khaimah or Fujairah for almost the same cost as a freelancer permit, you can have a limited liability company, you can open a corporate account, you can hire staff, you can grow the business as you need to. And depending on what you're doing with the mainland company, you might need a work permit to be completely above board and legal. Because if you're working in the mainland, you're supposed to have a mainland visa or a mainland labour permit. So if you want to contact us separately, we can talk about the specific requirements that you have and the specific examples of work that you have in mind, and we can guide you through the suitable solution.
Super. And while I have you, Gary, so Katie, who was asking about starting a food truck, a restaurant, cloud kitchens, and so on before, would like to know that the concepts you mentioned before, I don't know if it was the cloud kitchens or whatever it was, but the concepts you mentioned before, could you repeat those names?
Yeah, so it's like a cloud kitchen. I know that there's places exist in Barsha where you give them the concept and they will cook the product for you, and it will be sold via Deliveroo, and you will get a percentage of the proceeds. I know Dan's Home Foods is one, for example, one that I've seen. That I know that you can't go and physically collect the items. You can only you can only order through Deliveroo, and you can only receive delivery within a sort of certain geographical area. These are very, very new, and I don't actually know. I'll be quite honest. I don't know how to set it up from the beginning, because I've never dealt with one directly. But I was speaking to a colleague recently, and I understand from him that one of our clients may own that particular food preparation centre. So if it's something you're interested in, then we can ask the right questions and we can help you maybe get under that umbrella if that's the idea that you like, or maybe find another suitable one and set up a company accordingly.
All right, Katie, I hope that answers your question. Luis, there's a question here regarding a finance or investment consultancy. Can that type of company be set up in a free zone, at least in the beginning? And if so, what free zone could we recommend for that?
Yes, of course. For all the financial activities, there's two free zones in the UAE that we usually recommend. The first one is DIFC, which is the financial center of Dubai. And the second one is ADGM, which is the financial free zone of Abu Dhabi. So that's the main two free zones for financial and investment activities. As well, the MCC free zone has some activities related to finance, but it's mainly finance related to your own funds. So you cannot give any financial advisory to client, or you cannot act as a broker, for instance. Financial and investment activities are heavily regulated here in the UAE. That's why the main two free zones are DIFC and ADGM.
Thanks for that, Luis. So we got the results ready from the poll. How soon are you looking to start a business? 46% of everyone on the webinar today are looking to start a business within 0 to 3 months, 33% within 4 to 6 months, and 13% within 6 to 12 months, and 6% doesn't know at this stage. So lots of aspiring entrepreneurs. It's great to see. Looking to start a business soon. Feel free, by the way, to inquire about a one-to-one consultation with our team after the webinar today. You can reach us at info@vc.ae. Gary, the next question is from you, for you. It's Firdos who would like to know, as a UK citizen, if I wanted to start an Amazon FBA business in the UAE and I wanted to move with my family to Dubai from the UK, what would we need? Would it just be the business license, visa, Emirates ID, and health insurance? Or is there anything else that you will need?
Yeah, you've nailed it. That's exactly what you need. So you start with the company license. The company license then gives you the availability to get a visa for yourself. And then having a visa for yourself then allows you to sponsor your family. A lot of the process here is like a chicken and egg process. So to sponsor your family, you need to have an Ajari, which is an official tenancy contract. but you can't get the official tenancy contract until you have the Emirates ID, which is the final step in the visa process. So we will guide you through the process from start to finish, and we will guide you through the process from start to finish. We will take you through the various steps. And as a UK citizen, you also want to make sure you alert HMRC that you're leaving the country, that you're no longer going to be a tax resident in the UK. And you probably, although I'm not a tax advisor, you probably want to do it pretty soon, because the new tax year has just started today. And you only have 90 days that you can be inside the UK throughout the course of the tax year before you're deemed a UK tax resident again.
All right. I hope that answers the question. We're almost through all the questions today, but if you have anything you would like us to answer before the webinar ends, please do put them in the chatter. And thanks for all the questions you have been asking so far. I think it's been really great to see so much activity and engagement. Louise, Ola would like to know that, basically she would like more information on the business license required to run an online e-commerce business in the UAE based out of Abu Dhabi. And also, what's the cheapest women entrepreneur offers available currently, which will allow her to work from home? And finally, if she has a resident visa already, will she need to change the visa status?
So in Abu Dhabi, if you would like to set up a mainland company, the activity e-commerce doesn't exist. So you have to select trading activities related to the type of products you want to trade. So for instance, if you want to sell garments online, you will have to select garments trading for your Abu Dhabi mainland business. Otherwise, for e-commerce in Abu Dhabi free zones, I believe Kizad free zone has this activity available. Your second question was related to women business packages. In Abu Dhabi, there's no packages available for women, but there is packages available for women entrepreneurs like you in Ras Al Khaimah or in Sharjah, where you can get discounted rates if you're a woman, which is great for us. Also, if you have an existing visa here in the UAE, that's fine. You can keep your visa, but you're still able to obtain a company license as the sole shareholder of the business. Nevertheless, you might need to provide a non-objection certificate from your sponsor, according to where would you like to set up your business. Some free zones are asking for it, and in mainland, the NOC is mandatory.
Okay, and Luis, there's another question for you as well here. It's Jihad who would like to know that if he has a son that's older than 18 years, could he get him on a visa if he set up a free zone business? Would he be able to sponsor his son's visa?
So he will not be able to sponsor him under his own visa, but he will be able to get him an employee visa under his free zone company. Okay,
perfect. Jihad, I hope that answers your question. Let's jump on to one of the last ones we have here. Gary, it's Pramesh that would like to know, what are the timelines from you submit your documents online and you make the payment to obtaining the visa, to commence trading activities in Dubai? So I guess, what's the full timeline really for setting up a business and getting a visa? And can you also obtain a COVID vaccine in the UAE if you own a business?
So in terms of setting the company up, you can do it with your visa in around 2 to 3 weeks, and then your Emirates ID can come a couple to 10 days later. It just depends on your luck for your Emirates ID. That would be the quickest you can do it. So 3 to 4 weeks, you can have your Emirates ID from start to finish, everything complete. And the quickest way to do it is probably with a mainland company. Some other jurisdictions take a bit longer. Some take a couple of months from start to finish. It really depends on the package that you set up. And yes, as a UAE resident, you can get a vaccine. it's free for all residents, but I'm not sure which one's available for which Emirates and how you book, etc. Because unfortunately, that's changing on a weekly basis. Personally, I've had both vaccines. I chose to go for Sinopharm. I had them a few months ago, and I just showed up at a centre in Dubai and got my vaccine. But sometimes there's walk-in appointments available. Sometimes you need to book. Sometimes it's more difficult to get one type of vaccine if you have a Fujairah visa versus a Dubai visa. So the ins and outs of that I don't know, but to answer your question in short, yes, you can get a vaccine with a UAE residence visa. It's not necessarily because you own a company, it's because you have a visa.
All right. I think we have time just for one or two more questions. Luis, we did answer this question earlier, I think, on the webinar today, but I think this person just joined. So he's moving to Dubai end of this month. Which free zone is best for him if he's an online consultant who works with coaches who coaches online, and if his clients are from all over the world? What free zone should he set up in?
We could offer him free zones located outside of Dubai, like Ras Al Khaimah, Sharjah, Fujairah, or if he prefers to have a Dubai-based free zone license, we can assist with Dubai World Trade Center, DMCC, Dubai South. There's a few options available for him according to his budget, according to the number of visa he will require under the license, if he will need a physical office in the future. So we need to understand all his requirements in order to give him a precise answer on where to set up his business.
Perfect. All right. I think we got through all the questions for today. So Louise and Gary, thanks so much for your time to answer all the questions we have for you today. Thanks so much to everyone who joined the webinar. We really appreciate all the questions you submitted in advance, but also during the webinar. I think we got around to answer all of them. If there was something we missed out on, please feel free to reach out to us at info@bc.ae, and our team will get in touch with you at the earliest. Also, go and follow us on various social media channels to stay updated on the latest news and regulations. For entrepreneurs and startups within the UAE. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Do please go and follow us there. Also to stay updated on upcoming webinars in the future. We do these VC Academy Q&As on an ongoing basis, approximately once a month, and the topic changes every month. So don't miss out on the upcoming Q&As. So thanks so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day. And do please reach out to us if you have any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.